North Korea considers military action over sanctions. North Korea has threatened resolute military action if the United States tries to isolate it after the United Nations Security Council imposed more sanctions against the reclusive communist state. The North also promised to start a program to enrich more uranium and to weaponize plutonium at its nuclear weapons plant. The North's official news agency, KCNA, quoted its foreign ministry spokesman as saying, the report said North Korea would consider any attempt by U.S. or its allies to impose a blockade as an act of war. There is a lot of propaganda going on. The sanctions resolution approved on Friday banned all weapons exports from North Korea and most arms imports into the state. Although it will be very hard to enforce these sanctions, and sanctions have not worked so far. It's more like a paper tiger. It authorizes United Nations member states to theoretically inspect North Korean sea, air, and land cargo, requiring them to seize and destroy any goods transported in violation of the sanctions. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said the latest United Nations penalties provide the tools needed to take appropriate action against the communist nation. She also said that the U.S. was gratified at the latest move against North Korea, adding the action represented a unified response against the North's provocative actions. She also said that the U.S. will work with other countries on enforcing the sanctions. The goal is to send a clear message about preventing nuclear proliferation by North Korea. A senior South Korean official said that North Korea may possibly respond to UN punishment with another nuclear test and maybe more missiles. They will never give up their nuclear weapons, said the official, who asked not to be named due to the sensitive subject matter. North Korea has raised tension in the region in the past few months by test-firing missiles, restarting a plant to produce arms-grade plutonium, and holding the May 25th nuclear test, which was more powerful than previous ones, and which put it also closer to have a working nuclear bomb or bombs. China's UN ambassador said the resolution showed the firm opposition of the international community to North Korea's nuclear ambitions, but he urged countries to exercise caution when inspecting North Korean cargo. This is all called, or it's called, nuclear blackmail by North Korea. Obviously, they want something. Under no circumstances should there be use or threat of the use of force, said the China's ambassador. The resolution seeks to deprive North Korea of financing and material for its weapons program and bans the country's lucrative arms exports, especially missiles. It does not ban normal trade, but does call on international financial institutions not to provide North Korea grants, aid, or loans, except for humanitarian development and other denuclearization programs. Studies have shown that United Nations sanctions imposed on North Korea for missile testing and its only prior nuclear test in 2006 had practically no impact. It didn't make any difference. So, in other words, United Nations sanctions, they don't really work. It's a paper tiger. Sanctions with no teeth. And while its meager trade actually increased due to lax enforcement of all previous measures or sanctions, the success of financial sanctions depends heavily on how far China and the United States are willing to go to pressure North Korea, said a research fellow at the Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. North Korea, the isolated country's $2 billion annual trade with neighboring China, equal to approximately 10% of the North's annual GDP, is its most important economic relationship. But China has wanted to avoid any measures that could cause the North's economy to collapse and lead to chaos on its border. North Korea will be high on the agenda when the South Korean president goes to Washington this week for a summit with President Barack Obama. One of the most important reasons for North Korea continuing its nuclear ambitions is to consolidate the power to stay within the Kim Jong, or the current family that is in power. The new United Nations measures expand previous provisions to hit North Korea's arms trade, which is a key source of foreign currency for the destitute state but produces few of the goods they can sell to the outside world. So, could North Korea possibly sell nuclear technology or nuclear weapons on the worldwide black market for arms? It is a possibility. And once again, it is using its nuclear program to blackmail the international community. And it's called nuclear blackmail. A study by the US-based Institute for Foreign Policy Analysis this year estimated that North Korea earned approximately $1.5 billion from missile sales. And the resolution did speak of a required inspection if a North Korean ship refuses to be inspected, but the ship's flag country could then send the vessel to any port it chooses, where theoretically, supposedly, the local authorities would carry out any cargo inspection. More sanctions, more resolutions that don't really work. Well, perhaps mostly are only on paper. In other words, there's really not much the international community or the world, nations of the world, can do about North Korea. At least not at the present. And everything is connected. And these are more signs of the end times, transition days. Still, day by day, every day, the transition is ongoing all around the world.